Hey BookTube, this is my January wrap-up. I'm Jen and I talk about audiobooks, and here are all the books I read in January. Starting with Now That You Mention It by Kristan Higgins. On audio, this is narrated by Xe Sands, and it is Kristan Higgins' most recent release. Loved it. Loved it. Xe Sands is a wonderful narrator who is perfectly suited for Kristan Higgins books, and actually I think Kristan Higgins pretty much exclusively uses Xe Sands as a narrator for all of her books at this point. She has a very distinct style, Xe Sands, as a narrator, and it's just really well suited to Kristan Higgins books. So I ended up giving that one 5 stars. That is adult romance. See if I can say this right. Pucked Off, like a hockey puck, which is Pucked Book 5 by Helena Hunting, and it is narrated on audio by Jacob Morgan and Rose Diorio. Jacob Morgan is Zachary Weber, so I love the narration from him. Rose Diorio, I didn't love her voice, but at the same time I thought it was very well suited to the character. So yeah, I thought it was pretty good. I ended up giving it 4 stars. Good sports romance. Alex and Lucas, which are books 1 and 8 in the Cold Fury hockey series. I kind of got on a roll with this sports romance hockey stuff. Those are both by Sawyer Bennett, and actually I read book 8, which is Lucas, first, and didn't realize I had picked up book 8. Book 8 is narrated by Joe Arden and Cris Dukehart, and so I read that and then realized, oh, okay, gave it 3 stars, realized I wanted to read the series, so I went back and read book 1, which is Alex, and I also gave that one 3 stars. That one is narrated by Graham Halstead and Cris Dukehart. Liked the narration a lot. You know, I have my favorites, and these guys aren't my favorites, but at the same time, they're still decent narrators, so yeah, good narration. I reread the Fallen World series by Thalassa, and I read these on my iPad as ebooks, and the reason I did that is because they are available on audio, and they're narrated by Laurel Schroeder. I sampled the audio, and here is what I think a lot of people run into with audiobooks. If you've read the book before, you kind of get a sense for the characters in your own imagination, in your own head. You kind of hear them. And Laurel Schroeder didn't sound anything like this character, this main character in this book. This is new adult dystopian, and I loved the characters in this series, and so she just didn't match up. And so because of that, I just put that aside and read them again as ebooks, and I loved them all over again. They are The Queen of All That Dies, The Queen of All Traitors, and The Queen of All That Lives. And I gave pretty much the series 5 stars. Loved it. I'll reread that again too. The Crown's Fate is the conclusion to the Crown's game. It's book 2 in the duology, so it's just the 2 books. It's by Evelyn Skye, and it's narrated by Steve West, who was brilliant. Brilliant. I didn't love the book, but I sure did like that narration. And as a conclusion, I thought it was really good. It's set in Russia, it's YA fantasy, and I gave it 3 stars. The Destined is Dreamland, book 3. It's book 3 in the Dreamland series, and that is by E.J. Mello, and it's not available on audio. And it took me forever to read this book, and it was okay. It is new adult paranormal, having to do with dreams, clearly. And I gave it 3 stars. How to Stop Time is by Matt Haig, and it is narrated by Mark Meadows. It is an ARC that I received from Penguin Random House Audio, and it is adult, I don't know what. It's the main character is a guy who ages really, really slowly. So really, I think the strength of the book is that it has a lot to say about not taking time for granted and realizing that you only have a limited amount of time with people. And I thought it had a lot to say about that. By the end of the book, I was going, okay, I get it already. But for what it did say, I thought, yeah, it was well done. So I gave it 4 stars. Layover is another ARC that I got from Penguin, and it is by Emily Meyer and Amy Andelson, and it's a debut. And it is narrated from 3 points of view by Michael Crouch, Cassandra Morris, and Phoebe Stroll. This is YA contemporary, and it's about a blended family of 3 kids who are supposed to go meet their parents, and they stop in LA and decide, nope, they're not going to do that. They're stopping there for a layover, and they have 3 hours, so they decide to go on an adventure. No. I ended up giving that one 2 stars. Didn't love it. The narration was pretty good though, especially I don't know, I think it might have been Cassandra Morris who did the youngest child, who was about 9. She did her expertly. I was really impressed with that. Forever My Girl is the first book in the Beaumont series by Heidi McLaughlin. This is narrated from 2 points of view, new adult contemporary, by Stephanie Rose and Nelson Hobbs. And this was my 3rd time to try and read this book, and I guess that was a charm. Ended up giving it 3 stars. A Million Junes by Emily Henry is narrated on audio by Julia Whalen. My 2 friends, Michaela and Lisa, wanted to read this, and I said, I will read that with you. So it was a reread for me. Amazing, amazing book. 5 stars, YA, contemporary with some magical realism, but such a love story. It was amazing. Breaking the Ice is by Julie Cross, and I received this as an ARC from Julie Cross, and it's not available on audio. This is book 2 in her Juniper Falls series, and it is all about a high school hockey team and its players. And I don't know, I've read better from Julie Cross. It was okay. I gave it 3 stars. Letters to the Lost is by Bridget Kemmerer, and it is narrated from 2 points of view by Brittany Presley and Kirby Heyborne. Whoa, the narration was so good. Just so good. These 2 narrators do YA so well, and this was YA contemporary. The only thing about this book that bugged me was that the adults were never taken to task for their immaturity, and they never apologized. They never tried to make it right, and that really bothered me. I gave it 4 stars. Write That Novel, You Know You Want To, by Karen McQuestion, is an ebook that I don't even know how I picked that up, but it's a story of her journey to become a writer and all the stuff she went through. So I think it has a lot of good information if you want to be a writer, and I thought it was, you know, it was a cool story. I enjoyed hearing about her life, so 4 stars there. That was nonfiction. Oh my gosh, I read a nonfiction book. In 27 Days is by Allison Gervais. It is narrated on audio by Hope Hoffman. Nope, did not like this narration. Just didn't work for me. I think Hope Hoffman, to me, sounded very new at narrating. She just, I don't know, she just didn't do it very well. She had some strength with regard to dialogue, and a lot of narrators who are kind of finding their way in the business, I think they do well with dialogue, but the narration that wasn't dialogue was not good. So I put that aside pretty quickly, and I read it as an ebook. It was pretty good. I ended up giving it 3 stars. Destiny of Dragons is the 3rd book in the Legacy of Dragons trilogy by Jack Campbell, narrated by McLeod Andrews. I did like McLeod Andrews' narration, though. I think he is amazing. So yeah, 4 stars, which was really more like 3.5 rounded up. Anything But Minor is the 1st book in the Balls in Play series by Kate Stewart, narrated by Lisa Zimmerman. I did not expect for Lisa Zimmerman to be such a great narrator, but she was. This is new adult sports romance baseball. I liked it a lot. It was a nice departure from hockey romance, but good story, pretty good. You know, like I say, I enjoyed Lisa Zimmerman's narration, I think, the most, and I always enjoy a good sports romance, so I ended up giving it 3 stars. Exit Pursued by a Bear is by E.K. Johnston and narrated by Georgina Marie. Really like Georgina Marie as a narrator. She is just one of those people that I like the way she enunciates words. I like the tone of her voice. I like the sound of her voice, and you know, all those things come together with her being talented as a voice actor, and that adds up to, you're one of my favorites. So I always know that when she's narrating something, I'm going to enjoy it. So I didn't love this book. I thought that the story was told with a great emotional distance. I didn't feel invested in this girl's story, and so I knew it was the writing was the reason. It read really more like a news article. So yeah, I didn't like it that much. I did like Georgina Marie, but the story ended up giving it 2 stars. A Stone-Kissed Sea is by Elizabeth Hunter. It is book 4 in her Elemental World series, which concludes an overarching story arc that begins with another series. I was really glad this story arc came to an end. The thing I think is wonderful about Elizabeth Hunter and the way she does adult paranormal romance is the fact that it's so diverse, and not just in like the nationality and various aspects of the characters. She takes it all over the world, and I love that. I love feeling like I'm visiting various places in the world. In this particular book, we went to Ethiopia and then to the Middle East, and this is, like I say, adult romance, paranormal, vampires. She does vampires really well. This was not available on audio at the time that I read it, so I read it on my iPad. It was great. I ended up giving it 3 stars. Transcendence is by Shay Savage, and this is my 4th or 5th time of rereading it, and it is not available on audio because she's self-published, and it's the story of a caveman with no capacity for language and a modern girl who falls through time, and he encounters her, and it's the story of their relationship. And the thing about this book is that it's from this guy's point of view. So, incredible, incredible story. Love it. I love it. I could read it again and again and again. And I gave it 5 stars. The Last Girl on Earth is another arc that I got from Penguin. This is a debut novel from Alexandra Blogier, and it is narrated on audio by Kim My Guest. I don't always love Kim My Guest because she has kind of a high-pitched little girl sounding voice. But in this case, I thought it was very appropriate for the character. This book has a lot of problems. A lot of problems. I ended up giving it 2 stars. Say You'll Stay is book 1 in the Return to Me series by Corinne Michaels. This is narrated on audio by Andi, Arndt, and Sebastian York. I like these narrators a lot. They're not my favorites, but at the same time, I was surprised that I liked actually Sebastian York as well as I did. I am giving him another chance, book after book after book. I didn't really like him much when I first started listening to him, but I like him better now. I liked it okay. I mean, it wasn't the greatest romance I've ever read. I'd call it adult romance, but it was still good. I liked it, and I gave it 3 stars. The Lifeguard is by Deborah Blumenthal. It had been sitting on my shelf for a long time. I picked it up, liked it a lot. It is young adult contemporary with a little bit of kind of magical realism is what I would call it, thrown in. Just enough to spice it up. And I really liked it. I love this cover because of all that ocean. Look at all that ocean. And this is actually the guy who is the lifeguard. He looks just like that. So well done on the cover. It's not available on audio, and so I read this book and I really liked it. I gave it 4 stars. A Man Called Uwe is by Frederik Backman and narrated on audio by George Newbern. What a pleasure. What a pleasure. George Newbern was amazing as a narrator. I had been putting off reading this. It's adult, contemporary, and I didn't know what to expect. I had only read one other thing from Frederik Backman, and it was kind of intense. This was wonderful. It was just wonderful. Uwe is a cranky old man who isn't really like that on the inside. He's an old softy. And so it was hilariously funny. It was so entertaining. It was heart-wrenching a little bit, and just a wonderful book overall. I loved it. I gave it 5 stars. Angels Walking is by Karen Kingsbury. It's book 1 in her Angels Walking series, and it was narrated brilliantly, absolutely brilliantly, by January LaVoy and Kirby Heyborne. These are 2 very good narrators who have done this a long time and know what they're doing, and I loved the narration. I truly did. Can't say enough good about that. I wish this book had had more angels in it. It's Christian fiction, and so the angels aren't your paranormal kind of angels that you would expect in an angel-ish kind of a book. And there is a fairly heavy amount of Christian spiritual kind of stuff going on in this book. So I didn't find it preachy, but you know, I'm probably not the best judge of that because this is the world in which I live. And so, yeah, it was okay. I didn't hate it. I didn't love it, but I thought it was good. It's adult romance, I would call it, but more Christian fiction than anything else. And I gave it 4 stars. And the last one is Artemis by Andi Weir of The Martian fame. On audio, this is narrated by Rosario Dawson, and I loved it. I loved it. I know a lot of people think it's supposed to be The Martian 2.0, and I didn't. I just liked it. I liked the main character a lot. I thought it had a lot of action. It had a lot of humor. I just really enjoyed it. So I gave it 5 stars. And that is everything I read in January. Everything. Man, that was a lot of stuff. So, if you have any opinions about any of these books, of course, I'd love to hear what those are. So, let's talk about all that in comments, and that is plenty enough for me, from me, for now. I will see you next time. Thanks so much for watching.